lose 14 pounds in 14 days. And you go, yeah, right. The next week you see the same ad that says lose 14 pounds in 14 days. And you go, don't bother me. After the 5th time you see it, you go, you know what? One of us is wacky. Either they're wasting their money or someone's doing this. So I don't know how many times, but 6 or 7 times of getting information seems to be the number that starts to change your thinking. If this is the first time, then great. If this is the 7th time, you got a lot of work to do when you get home. So I don't know where you're at as far as what time. So I'm going to try to make this as believable as possible for people who are similar enough to you that you can't deny that it won't work for you. Because the most important part about losing weight, regardless, is a belief in your mind that this would work for you. This will work for Tony or Mary or Sam. This works for me. Because until you get to that hurdle, guess what? You'll keep arguing with yourself. And that takes a lot of time and a lot of energy, and it doesn't help you lose any weight. So, if you need to lose weight, I think we've got a few answers. One answer is right here, because this is research that we couldn't pay for. And some of you have obviously seen this before. You realize I like this slide, so I keep showing it. Dr. Mikkel Hinhines, whatever, planned food rationing program in Denmark in World War I. This seems so elementary to you, but in World War I, this was big. He stopped feeding the nation's grain to livestock and started feeding the grain to the people. Like I said earlier, if you would do that around the world, we'd have no one that didn't have not just enough food, I'm talking about bounty. Mass vegetarian experiment for 3 million people. Can you imagine a whole country that has 3 million people? When I go to Costa Rica, they have 4.5 million. I'm thinking that's like Brooklyn or something, You go, this is incredible. This is a whole country. They pay their teachers, and they got their policemen, and they run around in cars. They have cars down there. I mean, you go, this is a whole country. Anyway, this is a whole country, 3 million people. Their death rate decreased between October 1917, you know the dates here, and October 1918, World War I. Their death rate dropped 34% in 1 year of getting rid of the cow, the pig. You go through the list, folks. 1 year, their death rate dropped more than the preceding 18 years. So what that tells you, they started keeping track at, obviously, 1900. That's when they started their country's census to find that out. 34% in 1 year. What would happen in America if that happened in the next year? I would be out of work, and I would thank you. The Undertaker, another point. If you're a mortician, maybe this isn't the right lecture. My point is, will you please look at the bottom of the chart? Journal of the American Medical Association, edition 74, 1920. Why hasn't your doctor told you to stop eating meat, stop killing animals, start eating what they eat, start eating the corn and soybeans, and live longer? Has any of your doctors ever told you that when you went in the office? Why, he's giving you a physical, he says, do this, do this. 1920, that's before I was born. But you know what? The initial ad when I came here the first time really got me. Right in your local newspaper, they said Dr. Collins has been practicing for 338 years. And that's why everyone came to see me. It wasn't about the lecture. No, I'm not kidding about the advertisement. That really was a blooper that came out in your paper. I still have the ad because it's that good. I guess it's a compliment. World War II. Folks, it's the same message, different group of people. Here we're looking at Norway. German occupation. Norwegian government was forced to sharply reduce, in some cases completely eliminate, availability of meat to its citizens. Oh my, what a curse. Look what happened to the citizens. In the younger age group, this is death rate per 10,000 population. Here's your years, 1938, 1940, up to 48. This is World War II. You're stressed out. You've lost your home. You're wondering what you're going to get for your next meal. Your grandson had to go to war and got killed. These people aren't low stress. This is terrible times. Look what happened. In the younger age group, 40 to 59, their peak in their death rate was about 1.2 per 10,000, dropped all the way down to 0.1. That's a 12-fold decrease during wartime. Look at the next group, 60 to 79-year-old group. Their death rate was 25, and it dropped down to less than 5 in a 6 to 7 year time period. Does it work? I can't deny it. Now let's look at people who are over 80. Go, oh my, how can you teach an old dog new tricks, right? You go, wait a minute. It's never too late to be healthy. Their rate went from 200 down to 100 in a war-torn country where they may have lost everything they worked for their whole life. Folks, it works. It just plain works. The cow isn't wrong. Weight control, Dr. Jordan here, Pennsylvania College, State College there in Pennsylvania. Those who were participating in a weight control program snack less during their evening meal preparation if they had as little as a 10-minute nap. You know why people overeat? Dehydration and not sleeping. Look at America. Why do we overeat? Doc, I got to have that kick in the afternoon. My boss will fire me. 1 Snickers, 2 Snickers, whatever it takes. I got to get through the day. Give me that boost. Coffee doesn't do it anymore. Well, don't turn to crystal meth, okay? Get in trouble for that one. Well, that's what they used to give for weight control. How many remember the old docs gave Benzedrine? What did we give ladies back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s for weight control? We gave them speed. And they'd buzz around. The house was perfectly clean. In fact, it got cleaned 3 times today. And they came home, and the poor husband got his ear talked off, and he goes, Doc, you got to do something. That was the old days. Well, now those drugs, if you got caught with them, guess what? You have to call me up. How to destroy quality sleep. I'm going to go through this quick because I got a mountain to go over before we get done here. If you want to mess up your sleep at night, eat and then go to bed. This is a little bit of reverse psychology in case you haven't figured it out. Drinking caffeine affects sleep no matter when you drink it. The half-life of coffee is about 4.5 to 5 hours for a healthy liver. That means the 200 milligrams that you get in your cup of coffee this morning is still in your blood vessels when you put your head on the pillow. And then the next day, you got a little more buildup. And the next day. And so I get the people walk in the office and they say, I can drink a whole pot of coffee and go to bed. I go, I believe you. I just don't want your head. Because that brain has got so messed up and so tired and so worn out, it can drink with that much it can sleep with that much external stimulation. That's not a healthy brain, folks. That's one I feel sorry for. Sleeping in a high noise area, well, I'll tell you what, if you live like where I do, if there's noise, it's probably because you're making it. You're running the chainsaw or doing something. We are in a part of the country where hopefully you can, at 9 o'clock at night, things die down, it's quiet, everything is great. You don't live near an airport or a large city. Now, you mess up if you're going to sleep in a room that has music, television, and say, well, I have to have it to go to sleep. Well, I hope you can break the habit. Even if you did grow up in Brooklyn, you can break habits and like it quiet. Going to bed while stressed. Well, that may happen to too many times. Light limits the depth of sleep. It needs to be dark. You say, but I don't want to trip over or whatever. Well, I don't want you falling either, but in general rule, light. And then if you're not getting your exercise, that's one reason you do need exercise. I want you to be as physically tired as you're mentally tired. Most of our work these days, we come home mentally tired, not physically tired. And that's why you go out and exercise. Sleep deprivation. Folks, I'm going to save some of these because I'm going to move ahead here. I spoke to you about insulin before, and I want to make the point, and I want to make some connections. If you want to lose weight, you have to sleep. If you're not sleeping, you're going to have a much harder time losing weight. Insulin and insulin resistance. A person who sleeps only 4.5 hours a night, their insulin concentration in their bloodstream is 71. These are not diabetics, by the way. A person who sleeps 8.5 hours a night has about 1/4 the insulin level. Remember what I said about insulin. Insulin will not let you lose weight because its job is to push sugar into storage and not let the storage come out. When insulin is high, you can't lose weight. Therefore, when you eat sugar, you can't lose weight. That's why it's taken off the list for every program you're in. There's very few programs. In fact, I haven't seen one yet, the banana split diet. Well, it wouldn't be for weight loss. And by the way, I want you to notice, Annals of Internal Medicine, I'm not pulling any punches here. Your doctor read this or had the opportunity. This is a prestigious medical journal for a doctor who's in internal medicine. Here's Journal of American Clinical Nutrition and Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism. Sleep more, eat less. Men who slept 4 hours a night ate 22% more calories the next day. Why? Because they're pooped out. The brain isn't working. Get me in gear. I've got to get through this day. Than they did after 8 hours of sleep. Studies found that a single night with 4 hours of sleep led to insulin resistance in 75% of the men and women in their 40s. There is a reason why we're more overweight, and there's a reason why we're not losing it. It usually has to do with our lifestyle. They're less able to move blood into the cells? Yes. Insulin resistance can lead to heart disease, diabetes, breast cancer. Exercise. The reason you exercise is not just to burn the calories you put in your mouth. I already went through that. The reason you exercise is to decrease the insulin level. Center for Disease Control, Physical Activity Guidelines, they tell you to do this. This is the general recommendations. 150 minutes a week, up to 300 minutes a week if you want to lose weight. Well, even they've got it wrong. Because you can go to the gym and prove yourself wrong. Because you leave the gym and you eat at the wrong time, late at night, because you truly are hungry. And guess why? You get on you go, man, I just can't lose weight. I just can't lose weight. I can't lose weight. I'm working, I'm putting in twice the time right now in the gym, and I'm still not losing weight. What's wrong with me, Doc? Well, the wrong is that you're doing something that wasn't really created to make you lose weight. You're doing something that's created to change your metabolism, improve your circulation, make you feel better, help you sleep better. 1 hour, 5 days a week is their recommendation. Equivalence. You may hate to walk, you may hate to run, you may not even like your own treadmill. Jogging, it says, time equivalent distance of walking 1 mile. So you can walk a mile, or you can jog a mile. You'll lose the same or use the same amount of fuel. You just get there quicker. So if you don't like to be a runner, if you're not inspiring to be a marathon runner, you're good. Biking, 3 miles of biking is equivalent to 1 mile of walking. Swimming 10 minutes, rowing machine, stationary bike, aerobics 20 minutes to walking a mile, active tennis, active racquetball. Always play with someone who's better than you are, because I want them to run you around the court. No, I don't like you losing all the time, but the point is, don't be afraid to play with someone who's better. But that's the only way you learn to get better yourself. 9 times greater effects. I'm going to be sharing with you a technique that will improve the blood sugar level, because I know that if I can improve your blood sugar level and drop your insulin, you will lose weight. It's called burst training. Now, burst training is named properly. Let's go through it. Obviously, you probably have heard this before as interval training. Fast, slow, fast, slow, fast, slow. 12 minutes, 3 days a week. You rest up a day in between. Don't tell me you don't have time for this. Compared to treadmills and hour-long aerobic classes, burst training helps you burn fat more efficiently and quickly. Wait a minute. How can it make me burn fat? The only way you burn fat is because you've dropped your insulin level, and now the fat stores can come out and you can use it for fuel. Physical Activity Science Laboratory there in Quebec. First, talk to your doctor. I mean, folks, if you just had a heart attack, this is not your kind of exercise, okay? So I want you to physically be able to handle it. So here we go. Vigorous exercise for 20 to 60 seconds, not minutes. So if you can walk, you walk as fast as you can for those 20 seconds. If you can jog, you jog as fast as you can for those 20 seconds. If you're on a bike, you ride as fast as you can for those 20 seconds. I mean, you're putting it all out. That's why they call it a burst. And of course, obviously they're saying you have to build up, so you're not going to start at 60 seconds. Well, most of us aren't going to start at 60 seconds. You rest for 1 or 2 minutes or until you catch your breath. So you're going to go wide open, and then you're going to slow your pace. So if you're running, you're going to run wide open. If you're walking, you're going to put them down, pick them up. If you're jogging, if you're riding a bike, then you're going to slow down to a much slower pace until you catch your breath. Exercise 20 seconds, rest 1 to 2 minutes. It's going to get boring here. Exercise 20 seconds, exercise, 5 to 10 sets. Now you know how you can get it done in 12 to 15 minutes. 5 to 10 sets of exercise, then rest. Do this every other day. Why every other day? Because metabolically, it takes you up to 48 hours to get the full benefit and also to recover back when you get the benefit again. In plain English, we're tricking the body a little bit here. We're using our own body metabolism to work to your advantage now. And because of what we know happens physiologically in your body when you do this, it takes up to 48 hours to do what? To repay the stores that I used to get you ready to do it all again. So actually, over the next 48 hours, 2 days from when you do this, I'm paying back a debt that I created in you. And when I'm paying back this debt, I need fuel from somewhere, and I'm able to pull it from your fat tissue. That's how you lose fat on this program. Basically, 3 times a week, every other day, 36 to 48 hours between workouts, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. They're getting very basic here. 12 minutes of exercise, 3 days a week. Okay. Remember not to eat for 2 hours after the exercise. Once again, we've studied metabolism, how the human responds to a physical workout, and what I want is I want you to be pulling from your storage. If I feed you a meal after your workout, what happens to the storage? The body will always choose immediate fuel over stored fuel. That's why you don't eat at 2 hours after your workout, because I want you to be pulling from your storage. And when you pull from your storage, what do we call that? Can't pinch an inch anymore because I only got a ½ inch. Exercise vigorously. I think we've done this, haven't we? How does it work? Burst training involves a short burst, high intensity, where oxygen demand is much higher than your body can supply. I'm creating a debt here. The metabolic stress that creates for your body to repay that oxygen debt means you burn more fat in less time. Journal of American Applied Physiology showed that burst training causes fat to be burned after exercise for 36 hours, and basically you're paying back a debt. Increased insulin sensitivity, which means more sugar burning, which helps both diabetes and people who don't want to store fat. Increased fat burning, increase in lean muscle, which is what you want, improved cardiovascular, your heart, combined aerobic and anaerobic activity, increased feeling good and beta endorphins. Some people, I've run for thousands of miles, and some people say they get a runner's high. Well, I haven't been able to catch up with one yet. So if you're one of those kind of people like me and don't get a runner's high, there's not something wrong with you. It's just that some people are more sensitive to the hormones it release. I guess I was having a good enough day and didn't need a high. I don't know what to tell you, but I never got one of those. Some people, oh yeah, man, when I go out there and run, it just really, I go, well, I feel that way before I start. You got to go out and run. I go, I could fake it. So if you're one of those kind of people that feels good anyway, awesome. If you're one of those kind of people that are out there and you run for 15, 20 minutes and all of a sudden you just keep getting more and more energy, I'm proud of you. I'm glad for you. Growth hormone. No, we're not trying to make everybody taller. Some of us may want to be. But growth hormone is absolutely critical for your mental health. If you want to feel better and if you want to keep your marbles, this is what you need. When you're young, this makes you tall. When you reach your potential height, this makes you mentally healthy. This improves when you sleep. This improves when you do this type of exercise. So growth hormone, yes, it's correctly named, but the growth part of it is just one of its many functions. Increase energy, improve athletic performance, reduced inflammation, and have a great day. Sugar. I'm going to go through this quickly because I don't think I need to convince any of you. The one thing I want to convince you of, though, is that this refined food does just the opposite of what I just told you with burst training. This particular type of food in its refined form will make you store the fat and not get rid of it. It'll make you have insulin go really high. Insulin is necessary. We're all thankful for it. But insulin is highly inflammatory to your vessel walls. If you want to increase more vascular disease, cause more high blood pressure, increase osteoporosis, eat your sugar. Sugar in response, or the body in response to sugar, increases your insulin. Insulin's work on the kidney causes you to lose calcium. So I'm going, wait a minute. I have all these ladies that come to see me, and they're vegan ladies that come to see me, and they walk their 2 or 3 miles a day, and their bones are getting more and more osteoporotic. I'm going, what am I doing wrong? They're walking. They're not on a high animal protein diet. They're not excessive on their protein. What's going wrong? And you learn another key of the puzzle, and that is they sure like their ice cream. And I'm going, the higher the blood sugar, the higher the insulin, and insulin's effect on the kidney is to make it excrete, and you lose calcium right out through your urine. By the way, most of us have been taking more calcium than what we need if we would take care of our body correctly, and causing more problems than maybe it's worth. If you eat your greens, you probably don't need any additional calcium at all. Sugar cane, where does it come from? Well, obviously we know that. This guy is just saying that it affects the same part of the brain that cocaine does. I'm not trying to equate sugar and cocaine. I'm saying they both stimulate the brain. I happen to believe that sugar can be addictive, and I think I can back that up with about 100% of the population in the United States. I've never had to train someone to like sugar. Have you run into someone like that they had to just practice day in and day out before they liked it? No. I mean, the first time a kid gets an ice cream cone, they spit it out and throw it on the floor. I haven't observed that. Maybe you haven't either. Okay. I'm not trying to skip something important, believe me. It's just a longer lecture than... Anyway, obviously, the more we refine the sugar, the more nutrients we lose. Let me get to something that... Okay. This is a picture of families that may be yours or maybe mine back in the 1800s. They look well-fed. They're not skin and bones. They look okay. And they were consuming about 10 pounds of sugar was the average consumption back then, which means you got a little bit of Christmas candy and a dessert maybe once a week or even less than that. Quite frankly, they couldn't afford it. What we afford for our menus now is so far different than what we had 200 years ago in this country. It's absolutely incredible. And we believe that, we're starving if we don't get something. Don't you like that ad that comes out? It kind of gets my goat a little bit. Even on billboards, 1 out of 5 children will go to bed tonight without a meal. I'm going, that's terrible. 20% of the kids aren't getting fed. And then I started looking for them. And I looked, and I'm going, wait a minute. Something's really wrong here. They are promoting a big lie because I kept looking for these kids that were starving. Maybe you found them. I haven't. So I said, okay, let's find out. What's their definition of starvation? You want to hear it? If you miss 1 meal a month, you fall in that category. And hang in there with me. That's how big of a lie that you're being touted to jerk on your heartstrings to make a donation. These poor kids that are starving. Now, if someone knocks on your door, I don't think there's a person in this room that if they knew that person was starving, they would probably give them food that they would even eat for themselves. So it's not about being generous. I don't like to be lied to. What the research showed in the United States is 1/2 of our children are being malnourished or not getting enough food. I propose to you that most of our children are getting far too many calories and far too much junk that I'm worried about as compared to the broccoli and good food. That's the real problem. But when I heard that definition, it wasn't a definition just of missing 1 meal. It's that they missed a snack. It would be any. And now children are expected to have how many meals a day? According to the school system, how many meals does a kid get a day? At least 5. Yeah, they come there, they get a snack in the morning, they get noon, they get 1 in the afternoon, and I hope they get something in the evening, or very possible. So that's 5 by my count. So I found out that I was a starving child because I eat 2 meals a day. And some days that even gets stretched out, especially in the office. So I go, well, I guess I'm put myself on the billboard. I'm starving. Doesn't somebody want to help me? No, that really got to me because I realized it was a big lie. I don't mind supporting a worthy cause, but please don't rip me off. Because when you rip somebody off once, when there becomes a real need and someone knocks on your door, you're going to be pretty tainted. How about today? Our modern couple. They're eating 174 pounds of sugar a day, and they look rather sweet, don't they? Sugar is the single most cause of changing the insulin, of affecting your metabolism, and giving you the possibility of being overweight. Yes, there's some people who eat a lot of sugar and are skinny. I'm not debating that. You'll find 1 in 10,000 or something. Now I'm going to take one more step. Maybe it's my next slide. 25% of our calories come from sugar. Kids 14 to 16 consume 34 teaspoons a day. MSNBC. Let's go on. The most popular food additive. Snickers bars. How many teaspoons of sugar? The honey bun, low-fat yogurt, the healthy food. Chocolate fudge cake, Pepsi, pancakes, orange crisp, McDonald's McFlurry, 13, strawberry passion, 17, Dairy Queen, Mr. Misty. I'll get it there. 32 ounces per 28 teaspoons of sugar. I think they'd be intoxicated. Maybe they need to be pulled off the road and done blood sugar levels. You do blood alcohol levels. Well, we start doing blood sugar levels on the road. Okay. That is your stomach, or someone's stomach. This is the pancreas, lies below the stomach. This is the organ that does digestive enzymes and puts them in your small intestine here. This is also the organ that makes your insulin. So when the blood sugar goes up, insulin goes up in response to that. Now the question is, when does insulin start to go up? I'm trying to make as much health points as I can. When you put sugar on your tongue, your pancreas starts to get notified and your sugar goes up. Now I got a question for you. When you put artificial sweetener on your tongue, what happens to the pancreas? Doesn't know the difference. But when you swallow the artificial sweetener, NutraSweet, it's 2 proteins. There's no sugar there. There's no even carbohydrate. There is nothing for the insulin to work on. So what happens to your blood sugar? It starts to go down. What does that do to you? When you get low blood sugar, what do? I better get something. I need to eat. Have you watched this? The more artificial sweeteners that we eat in our general population, the greater our obesity. Man, we've been really pulled on this one. Because what do people believe? I can drink my no-calorie or non-calorie this and this and this, and it's free. No, it's not free. It's not free to your health. It's not free to your waistline. And it definitely isn't free because you probably paid more for it than the real drink you're avoiding. That's one handle they got us on. These artificial sweeteners have made us overweight. The next handle is they've pushed sugar one step down the road. It's called high fructose corn syrup. If you want something to really get your goat, it is worse than using the white plain sucrose, white table sugar. This is worse for you metabolically. And if you want a good case of gout along with the situation, keep up your high fructose corn syrup, because high fructose corn syrup doesn't have animal protein. That usually we blame it on uric acid that gives you gout. But what it does to your liver is it makes it not able to process the uric acid accurately. It builds up, and you can get gout from a sugar now. Folks, if you're going to eat sugar, eat the white stuff. I prefer you leave it alone, though. Because the white stuff is less harmful for you than the artificial or now the high fructose. And what's happened, because mom goes to the store and buys cookies now instead of making them at home, like she did 50 years ago, we have this high fructose corn syrup in large quantities in our baked goods because it's actually more economical. I'm not going to try to get too political because, the corn is subsidized. But there's this whole thing keeps going together. Sometimes, I'm not overly a conspiratist, but the point is you start looking at this thing going, man, who did all this? It almost seems like somebody figured this out, and you go, why would they do this? Why would they do this corn syrup? Wasn't sugar cane good enough? Well, if you want to eat sugar cane, it takes about 3 feet of sugar cane to make your 1 tablespoon of sugar, so by the time you get done chewing 3 feet, I don't have to worry about you. The insulin goes up, causes irritation of the blood vessels. Red blood vessels get more sticky. We call that a clot. Growth hormone goes down. Immune system gets depleted, and we wonder why we get sick more between Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's, and we hopefully break the cycle this time of the year. I'm glad when the sun is out and people get outside and hopefully do something different. Amount of sugar eaten at one time, how many white blood cells destroyed? This was actually done at Loma Linda, the school I went to. It was actually in the School of Dentistry. I didn't go to that school. The amount of sugar eaten and how many white blood cells are affected. So what they did is they took blood samples out of the person's arm and put them in a special dish, and they wanted to see, and then put bacteria in there, how many bacteria could 1 white blood cell kill? Let's take a look. At 0, which means we hadn't done it yet, they're fasting, they come in, and the blood, before they gave them any sugar, that's what the 0 is, could kill 14 bacteria. 1 white blood cell killed 14. That's a pretty good army, especially if you're dealing with an infection. If you do 6 teaspoons of sugar, 1 glazed donut, half a small drink, soft drink, it drops it to 10. By the way, you're not diabetic. This is just a person who has something for breakfast, a glazed donut. 12 teaspoons of sugar, it drops your fight down from 14 down to 5.5. We go to 18, it drops it down to a 1 to 2 battle. And if we go with a banana split, you wonder why you get sick. You lost your immune system. Here's the good news. After 24 hours, those same white blood cells that were incapacitated get their life back. If you wiped out your immune system with one banana split, we'd all be in trouble. Sugar knocks out our B vitamins. Those for your brain. You know, folks, parents, sometimes we the ones that need the spanking, not the child. Because we have set the child up with our diet to make them much harder to be disciplined and not just be ornery. And when a child that doesn't express themselves emotionally, you know what happens. It usually comes out in anger. You watch a child who's had a major emotional loss or major emotional trauma, and it usually comes out as anger. They're just plain can't be with themselves, and they'll just haul off and hit the guy next to them just because they feel like it, not because they did anything wrong. And I happen to believe that sometimes Johnny doesn't need the spanking. I think Dad does. Incomplete processing of sugar occurs when the B vitamin stores are used up. And when the B vitamin stores are used up to process sugar, which is a higher priority. Here's the scary part. Processing sugar is at a higher priority than brain function. Because once you put that stuff in your body, the body has to deal with it and get rid of it. Okay, I think I've beat this one to death. So we're going to get past this sugar. High fructose corn syrup, we touched on that. Cause of obesity. We got soft drinks. This is a good one. Back to rat study. Rats that were put in a cage had the option of 2 different fluids. One was sugar water, as in white sugar water. One is as in NutraSweet, an artificial sweetener. This was their water for the day. They could drink as much or as little as they wanted. They also, in that cage, they had their food. They could eat as much as they wanted. Look what happened. The rats on natural sweeteners, as in white sugar, ate approximately 1/3 what the rats on artificial sweeteners did in the cage. Artificial sweeteners have a major impact on your metabolism and also on your apostat, how much you're eating. So, rats, artificial sweeteners, about 3 times more. The number of Americans consuming sugar-free products, 70 million in 87, 160 million in 2000. I need to update my chart, don't I? It hasn't gone down, by the way. This is half of the American population right now. Back in 2000, it was higher than that. Aspartame, NutraSweet, 2 protein molecules, no sugar, no carb in this stuff. Experience fibromyalgia, spasms, shooting pains, numbness, cramps, vertigo, headaches, tinnitus, ringing in the ears, joint pain, anxiety attacks, slurred speech, blurred vision, memory loss. Is that enough? How'd this get past the FDA? I'm being facetious, but there's one thing you should never mix. You should never mix politics and medicine. Never. You will not get healthy people as a result. Splenda. Research reveals numbness in the legs of rats, enlarged livers, spleens, kidneys, male infertility, and gastrointestinal problems during pregnancy. Greater caloric intake. Why do we eat this stuff for? Did you notice the rollout when Splenda came to town? Before, when the saccharin and the cyclamates and all the stuff back in the 70s were out, they come in these little tiny packets and these little tiny boxes. Then along came NutraSweet and you walk out with a suitcase. They didn't mess around with anything. When Splenda came to town, they didn't give you a little box. They had stuff that was this big, and you walked out with a month's worth. They didn't have to worry about rolling it out. They knew you would buy it. Americans go, if you sweeten it, I'll eat it. I mean, when you were a kid, did you go and eat yogurt? No, gross. That's what Grandma put on her mashed potatoes or something. Yogurt was nasty. It was sour, didn't taste good, a little bit creamy, but who would eat this sour fermented stuff? It even stinks. What do? We add fruit, and we add sugar, and we call it Frogurt, and we line up at the Dairy Queen waiting for my yogurt. Oh, take another one. Brand O's. Sawdust, okay? I mean, we take wheat bran, we compress it into what looks like a Cheerio, we sweeten it enough, and we buy it and eat it. There's as much fiber in the box as in the cereal. But if you sweeten it, we'll eat it. And then we come up with granola bars. They're candy bars, but they're called granola bars. But because they got granola in them, they're healthy. Don't be fooled. I got to get past these. I'm sorry.
Does the artificial sweetener stuff count for if you're using stevia?
Stevia is still, the thing is still out. Stevia is not a carbohydrate. Stevia isn't a insulin-requiring molecule. Stevia can still cause the response of your brain and increase insulin, though. That's my biggest thing against stevia. And folks, just because it's from a plant doesn't mean it's healthy. Strychnine is from plants. Opium is from plants. You're always safer with plants, I will tell you that. But stevia has the characteristics of an artificial sweetener without being man-made. Now, I am not going to tell you that stevia is bad like Sacramate, Splenda, NutraSweet. I haven't covered that in my research. But everything I'm looking so far is having the same metabolic effect inside the body. That's what concerns me. Yes, ma'am. Honey, once again, you're dealing with a little bit different type of carbohydrate here, but at the same time, it will cause the same glucose response in the bloodstream. So I can't give my diabetics honey. On the other hand, if you're not diabetic, it's a preferred sweetener because of what else you get with it. I mean, I've had a lot of experience around bees because my dad raised bees. And after you're 5 years old and he dresses you up in your bee suit, and you get over the fear that that thing isn't going to sting me to death, and they're this far from your nose because you got to screen your helmet on, it's pretty cool because you feel like you got power then because they can't get me and I can get them. So you kind of feel powerful. So honey is an excellent source, but remember, to get 1 tablespoon of honey, bees had to fly 2,500 miles. So you use it with that kind of respect. But it is a better sweetener because of the nutrition in it and because of the quality of the sweetener. Folks, I got to go ahead. Hold your questions if you don't mind. What's that? Okay, now we're over in this whole area called sugar alcohols. Anything that ends with an OL in the end is a sugar alcohol. They seem to be less likely to cause the insulin response, and that's why they're touted. All these things with OL on the end. In fact, we even have some we use in toothpaste because they're supposed to help prevent dental caries and things like that. I'm not saying there aren't other advantages over the sucrose. I'm saying that we still can get an insulin response that, let me back up. There's no perfect refined sweetener except for mangoes. No. The point is that there isn't a perfect refined sweetener, period. I like mangoes. But the point is that some people that are diabetic, I've got to feed them more cabbage and less mangoes. But I hope to get their pancreas back so they can enjoy a good mango. You can tell how biased I am. Okay. Pierre Austrand, a physiologist from Europe, was trying to figure out what diet is the optimum diet for his athletes. This particular group of athletes were put on treadmills and told to ride to exhaustion. When I say ride, I'm wrong. They were put on stationary bikes. On a high-protein, high-fat diet, these athletes, these are trained athletes now. These aren't just people coming off the street. They rode for almost an hour on that diet. They changed their diet over like a 3-week, let their body adjust to it. And so they called this a mixed diet, lower in meat, lower in fat and protein, obviously higher in vegetables. Here's the amazing thing. This changed the world of football from the biggest steak you could get your hands on to a pregame meal to eating the biggest plate of pasta you can get your hands on before the pregame meal. This is back in the 60s. It comes to no surprise to you now. But I want to show it to you how it does for health. If it can work for them, it can work for you and me. They were able to go twice as far with the same people. You have just created a super athletic team right here in 3 weeks on a different diet. That's how incredible it is. So we pushed it to its logical conclusion, went on a vegetarian diet, which is high carb, high refined carb, and the same men that a couple months before were going a little bit less than an hour are now going almost 3 hours in endurance. If you do this for no other reason than wanting your brain back and wanting your good endurance and want to feel like you're worth $1 million because you really are, you do it for that. There is so many advantages to what I'm talking about. I almost feel like I'm selling snake oil up here. Benefits of a high-carb diet and high fiber. You can also tell I'm not a ketogenic doctor, okay, in case you didn't figure that one out. Reduces levels of serum cholesterol and triglycerides. Well, obviously, a vegetarian diet has no cholesterol, and it has triglycerides in it, but it definitely has less. Reduces blood pressure. The single most important cause of hypertension in the United States is oils, not salt. When we take a person off all oil and put them on a vegetarian diet, within 3 weeks, 21 days, we had 80% of that population off their blood pressure medication. Now, you don't throw the medication out the window and say, I'm going to start. No, you go on the program and get so healthy you don't need the medication. Don't play Russian roulette with your blood vessels. I want you healthy to do it. Promotes discontinuation of insulin therapy for non-insulin dependent diabetics. If you don't need insulin and your pancreas is working and you're not abusing it, you're good. Reduces risk of death from heart disease. I like that one. Improves gastrointestinal function. That's a nice way of saying your elimination is doing well. Reduces body fat in the obese. By the way, it'll reduce body fat in everybody. Reduces risk of kidney damage. See, I'm seeing organs that shouldn't be damaged at all. I'm seeing livers that are damaged with fatty liver now. I'm seeing kidneys that people are in renal failure and they're not 90. These kidneys have to last me a few more years because I definitely don't want them to be on dialysis. The effect of the kidneys and protein and our high-protein diets are way too much work for our kidneys. Reduces the risk of kidney damage. Reduces insulin requirements. Improves glycemic control, blood sugar control. Another research by Dr. G.C. Pitts said, okay, why are my athletes not able to perform better? And the reason I'm showing you this is because I want to convince you that on your handout, hydration or dehydration is absolutely critical for your weight loss management. The first group, they were told to, these people were on bicycles, ride the bike to exhaustion. Now, what was my exhaustion point? My exhaustion point was if you get to 102 degrees oral temperature, you have to quit. By the way, that's pretty warm, and that's due to dehydration. The no water group went for about 3.5 hours before they hit that 102 degrees. The next group, the same athletes, the next time he says, okay, I want you to drink as much water as you want and ride. And so they rode for about 6.5 hours. These are trained people. I'm not telling you you need to go out and do this, okay? The third time they said, okay, we're going to calculate we're going to estimate what we believe your body loss of fluid is over your exercise and give you that much, whether you're thirsty or not. Doesn't matter. You're going to drink this much. They went up to 99 degrees, and they said, Doc, how long do you want us to ride? At the 7-hour point, they go, I think we proved our point. Never underestimate the power of water. This is athletic performance. As I say, don't sign up for the Ironman in Hawaii if you're not a vegan that's well hydrated. Go through the whole list. You might as well just stay home and watch it. That's what it's come down to. If you want to be a high performance athlete, you can't afford to put animal protein into your system because the animal protein has so many disadvantages and you have to metabolize it and get rid of it. You can't afford to do that to yourself. No, I'm not planning to run a marathon. My knees have told me that that's not possible. I also am not planning to do an Ironman. They swim a couple miles in the ocean, get out of the ocean, ride over 100 miles on their bicycles, get off their bicycle, and then they run a marathon. I'll be doing good to any one of those three, not all three, and they do it in about 9 hours. American versus Chinese. Here's the China and the American basic 4 groups, stuff you were taught back in 6th grade. Can you believe that we in America have a whole food group of nothing but milk? Then we have another food group of nothing but meat. So half of our diet right there is what? From the barnyard, yeah. And we get some fruits and vegetables and some grains. That's our basic 4. The Chinese basic 4 look a little bit different. Green leafy vegetables, cabbage, soybean products or soybeans, sweet potatoes, and cereals. Those poor people, they're really in bad shape. Watch this. Let's just look at their protein. By the way, they're getting too much. They're getting our diseases. Their green leafy vegetables, 500 grams, 454 grams is a pound, so a little bit over a pound of green leafy vegetables, they get 5 grams of protein. Their soy products, they eat 60 grams, which is a little bit over 2 ounces. That's 18. Their sweet potatoes, we already know they're low protein, 400 grams, a little bit less than a pound, 8. And their rice is where they get their major amount of protein. And by the way, that's true for people who eat vegan. They get most of their protein from their grains. 40 grams, so they total 71 grams of protein, and they need about half that. They're not starving to death over there. They have a very basic diet. It's very simple, but not starving to death. Your buffer foods, you should have this handout. I don't have a copy up here. Susan, do you have an extra copy of handouts for me so I can at least look like I'm saying it? She's going to help me out. Thank you. Any of you that didn't get a copy? Thank you. Thank you. We'll make sure you get them before we leave. The buffer food one, if you have that one, the reason for buffer foods is to reduce the insulin requirement and the insulin level in your bloodstream. When I can reduce the insulin level in your bloodstream, then I automatically make your body burn fat. It's that simple. This is the crux in success or failure when you're dealing with weight. Number 1, buffer foods slow down how fast the glucose is absorbed from the intestinal tract into the bloodstream. So what foods do that? Well, fats in any form do that. Well, you just told me that oils were really bad for my blood pressure. Yes, I did tell you that. But what if you eat a soybean? It is 33% fat. I didn't say soybean oil, I said soybean. And then I go, okay, that would qualify. So if I have soybeans in some form at a meal, that would be considered a buffer food. And then I come down to number 2, it says protein. Protein is also a buffer food. Does my soybean have, I'm giving away my whole story here because we've got to save time. The soybean has protein. Then I go to step 3. Does my soybean high in fiber and have complex carbohydrate? Yeah, one food can do the whole picture. The point is that when you use a buffer food, you allow the glucose, the sugar, whatever you're eating, the baked potato, to go into the bloodstream a lot slower, and therefore you don't get an insulin spike. Your body's metabolism changes, and you don't get so much storage, folks. This is about how to get rid of our storage, not make more. Okay. Bill's record. Bill went through Dr. Anderson's, who was an endocrinologist in Louisville, Kentucky, went through his program. He has a high complex carbohydrate, high fiber program. So what he feeds people is what we've been talking about all day. But let's see what happened to Bill. Bill went to the clinic. He weighed 198 pounds, and his blood sugar was 288, excuse me. There's no doubt. That's not borderline, folks. That's full-blown diabetes. He is totally out of control. His blood cholesterol level was 278. His triglycerides, which you see this go up typically when the sugar goes up, were 645. But look at Bill. Bill walked 5 miles a week. So you go, Bill, he's a walker. He's one of those healthy people. Go, no, he's not. He went on the program, 5 weeks on the plan, his weight had dropped, 20 pounds, 19 pounds. Look at his blood sugar. Bill is not unusual. Bill is expected. If he didn't do this, I'd wonder what was wrong with him. Glucose, 114. Not there yet, but doing good. Cholesterol. There is no statin drug. There is nothing in medicine that can drop your cholesterol from 278 to 157 in 4 weeks, 5 weeks. Doesn't exist. Research done in England, unlike other countries, they're a little more brave or bold or something than we are. They wanted to test the difference between eating an apple and taking a statin drug. I guess they picked an apple, keep the doctor away, The point was, the results was exactly the same. The statin drug did not lower the cholesterol any more or any less than the apple. So I go, that's simple. Since they're on socialized medicine over there, they had to buy everybody apples. No. What they did, and this what really got my attention about this article, they couldn't afford the apples. So they gave the people the statin drug. Now, wait, I'm not done with my story. Listen to this. This is what's really going to shock you. Because the statin drug was cheaper than the apples. Folks, we're getting ripped off big time. You know what statin drugs cost us here in the United States? I see some heads, okay? Can you afford to eat apples one a day for 30 days cheaper than your prescription for your statin drug? Okay, listen to real close, okay? It was more expensive for the English government to buy apples for their people who need to lower their cholesterol than to pay for the statin drug. We pay 100, 150, and sometimes more for a month of a statin drug in the United States. How many apples can you eat for $150? You just learned a real important lesson. Why does England have statin drugs about 10 cents a pill and we're paying dollars a pill? My own rebellion, and I hope I can make it yours, is get so healthy you can step away, because I can't fight City Hall and I don't want to waste my time because I don't like stress. I make up enough myself. But one thing you can do is you can choose in your own heart and in your own lifestyle and say, I'm going to go for it. And that's what this seminar is really about. It's saying, not only can you go for it, these are the tools I need to use, and secondarily, he has showed me person after person and mouse after mouse that was successful. Bill, at 1 year, his weight is 158, his blood glucose is 87. Is Bill a diabetic? No. His cholesterol is 133. That's what it was supposed to be. His triglycerides are below 100, and that's where I want him. And now he's walking 40 miles a week. Well, he must be retired, wouldn't you say? Unless he walks 5 miles to work and home every day. I don't know what he does. And they give his ideal over here. I go, no, we're going to stay with Bill. Your ideal levels, Bill's so far better than you, we're not going to tell you to go back to the American standard. Blood sugar on a high and low fiber diet. Really simple. The higher the fiber, the lower the blood sugar. The black line here on the bottom is a high fiber diet with the same amount of sugar eaten as the line above it that's dotted. On a high fiber diet, that's those buffer foods, it doesn't allow the sugar to rise so high as compared to the person who eats low fiber with the same amount of sugar in it. Fiber, fiber, fiber. If you want to do your math, just add up your grams of fiber every day, soluble or insoluble, and when you get to 50 or 60 grams of fiber a day, you're going to see your blood sugar level completely change. And if you see your blood sugar change, you're going to see your waistline change. If you see your waistline change, I'll have to tell you the rest of the story. You'll be telling me. Duke had a program back after World War II, late 40s, early 50s, called the rice diet. And it was really basic. Dr. Kempner came here from Germany. He was a German physician, came to the United States and started the program. This is before Duke was Duke. I mean, it was Duke, but it wasn't. This is one of the programs that put it on the map. They had what they called malignant hypertension. They didn't have the big, powerful drugs we have now, and we had people coming in there with retinas that were being damaged in their eye. We had people losing their kidneys because their blood pressure was going up, not just having heart attacks. So they were losing their vision, they were losing their kidney function, and obviously it was due to the blood vessels can't handle this kind of pressure. They labeled it malignant hypertension because they had nothing to do with it. So here's was the diet. And the people that did it were successful. That's the amazing thing. The diet was white rice, which I'm not recommending. I'm just telling you what they did. The diet was white rice and fruit. Not vegetables, would have been my choice with the brown rice, okay? But this wasn't my program. And that's what they had for breakfast. For lunch, they had fruit and rice, and then for supper, they had rice and fruit. So you can see they had a lot of variety. That is all they ate. That was it, folks. Zip, nada, nothing else. He was going after salt. Basically, no added salt. Fruit is good without salt. Rice might need a little bit of help, but there's none in there. After being on the program, day in and day out, month after month, amazing things started happening. The eyes began to heal. And I'll tell you what, when you start losing your vision, I'll eat cardboard to get my eyes, okay? I don't know about you. But the interesting thing is what I'm going to show you right now. This is the side benefit. This was not the major goal of the program. Look what happened. Insulin, the people that came there on insulin in a 4-week program, of the people that came there, 38% stopped their insulin in 4 weeks, 1 month. 62% of that group decreased their insulin. These are people that said, you're never going to get off this the rest of your life. This is something you do every day. 38%, almost 48% left there without their needle. 4 weeks. The ones that came on oral medication, 80% stopped their oral medication in 4 weeks. Folks, this is Duke. This is hometown. We're in North Carolina. 15% decreased and 5% stayed the same. So 95% of the people either went off or decreased even their oral medications for the diabetes. That should tell you that is the success, that is the key, that when you do this, this is weight control. The reason they did this is because they lost fat weight. That's the only explanation. I've got many charts of fiber. I guess I've got a few minutes to go through that. Once again, I want to point out a few things. Total fiber, soluble fiber, and insoluble fiber. I've got page after page after page, so I'm not going to show you just for the repetition. If you want a good fiber chart and you have access to the internet, you'll find Just type in soluble and insoluble fiber, or type in fiber and you have more charts than what you need. Pick out what you want. Whether you like asparagus, whether you like beets, broccoli, you go through the whole list. The total fiber here, this is the column that I want. Turnips, 4.8 and half a cup of turnips. How many of you like turnips? Good. Poor man's potatoes. Some people like them because they're good. Either way, they're healthy. And if you do it right, the turnip greens that grow on top are good for you too. So my point is, this is the column that I want you to get at the end of the day between 40 to 60 grams of fiber. And when you make those food choices, guess what it's going to make you do? How much fiber does an egg have in it? How much fiber does a hamburger have in it? How much fiber does cheese have in it? Are you getting my point? Animals don't, they eat fiber, they don't make fiber. Fiber is what you spread on the field. I've worked around cows, so much more than what I wanted to. Cabbage, carrots, celery, cucumbers, etc., etc. Even that stuff called iceberg lettuce has got a little bit of fiber. There are better choices, folks. And if you have limited space in your stomach, put something else in. Apples, applesauce, dried apricots, bananas. Now, when you're trying to lose weight, dried fruit is good. But the problem with dried fruit is you eat 1 or 2 apricots and you won't get near the satisfaction out of those 2 dried apricots than you will out of 2 fresh apricots. So go with the fresh when you're trying to lose weight. Mangoes, cantaloupe, oranges, it goes through the whole list, watermelon. Beans are a good source of fiber. Remember, the water-soluble fiber is the one that helps you lower your cholesterol. The water-insoluble fiber is the broom that keeps things going along well. You need a combination of both. That's why, I guess, maybe I've passed up oats. That's why oat bran was really the big thing for a while, because oat bran is mostly water-soluble, which means it binds with the bile acids, the cholesterol, and carries them out. I'm looking for oatmeal. I'm not sure if I have it. I know I've got oat. Here we are, oat flakes, 1 cup, soluble, insoluble, etc. The only time you won't have fiber in a food that is plant-based is if man has taken it out. Every other food has fiber in it. Animals don't have fiber. So how do people lose weight? To lose weight, people must consume fewer calories than they expend. There's no real trick of the trade here, folks. Changing your diet makes all the big difference because you can fool yourself. I've showed you the tricks that I know. Burst training can allow you to burn more fuel for less work than any other thing I can show you. I'm not trying to teach you how to cheat here. I'm trying to teach you how you can get ahead. Fewer calories is difficult, but feeling full is one reason that people stop eating. So how can I make you feel full without over-fueling you? Let's take a look. The amount or volume of food each person eats prompts them to feeling full. Most people don't count calories by the spoonful. Well, that was 10, 20. When they get to 40 spoons and 400 calories, they go, oh, I'm done. I hit it. I hit my 400 calorie point, quit. I've watched people eat a lot of different ways, but I've never seen someone eat that way. Your brain doesn't work that way. You don't work that way. Let me show you what we found out from some research. One study provides evidence that feeling full is more likely to make a person stop eating than the calories they consume. It's not about the calories, folks. It's how you feel. Am I satisfied? Do I feel full? The neighbors are coming over. Mom, put another quart of water in the soup. You know, that's what happened. Didn't that ever happen to you when you were a kid? You're getting visitors and you just have to put more water in the soup? Well, what was the point? We want everybody to have something to eat. And guess what? You can't tell. And I can take food that could be 600 calories in that bowl or 300 calories in the bowl, and at the end of the meal, you're going to say, that was good, I'm happy. So there is ways of pleasing yourself and not eating excessively. For 5 days, 20 participants ate as much as they wanted from the food offered to them. The diet altered from a low energy dense to a high energy dense foods. So they just vary the diet, and you just eat what you want, and you don't know what you're doing. You don't know how many calories are there. And so they watched you. The participants felt full on low energy dense diet, like cabbage, after eating just over half the calories, this is per day, 1,570, when they consumed feeling full on the high density. So we had two groups of people. We fed them the food. The group that said they were satisfied on 1,500 ate half the many calories as the group that said they were satisfied on 3,000. This is not about every day, I've got to eat one more vegetable. I actually enjoy what I eat. Low energy, fewer calories consumed. For 2 days, researchers provided meals and snacks to the women who were assigned a low, medium, or high calorie menu. Women in each group ate until they were full. All women ate similar amount or volume of food, so quantity, they filled up. The study suggested that volume of food, not calories, makes people full. Because what did they do? They fed them different calorie foods. They ate till they were full. Like I showed in your previous study, one group ate 1,500 calories a day. The other group ate 3,000. Volume affects energy density and the feeling of being full. Yogurt milkshakes were given 30 minutes before lunch on 3 different days. The shakes came in 3 sizes. Most of us don't think in milliliters. 250 is a cup, okay? So this is over a cup, almost 2 cups, and 2.5 cups, but all had equal calories, and they didn't know which one. Because you believe that the bigger the cup, the more you're eating. Higher volumes were achieved by incorporating air. Don't buy the Cool Whip. Participants consumed 12% fewer calories at lunch after drinking the 600 quantity milkshake. So what's the tip, folks? Blow you up with air and you don't eat as much? No. What they found is satisfaction. They were going for volume. And the people that had the 600 volume milkshake, over 2.5 cups, ate 12% less calories than the group that had the less. Participants reported greater feelings of fullness after drinking the 450 or the 600 than after the 300. Same calories. We're playing a game here. Another study, water energy density and feeling full. Okay, now think, we're dealing with water now. So they beat air in the last one. Okay, they fluffed it up. Now we're dealing with water. 3 different days during a 4-week study. 24 women ate the same foods over 3 days, but prepared differently. Same food, different days, different preparation. Day 1, chicken rice casserole, 1 1/3 cups. That's what they ate. Day 2, chicken rice casserole, 1 1/3 cups. Sound like the same thing to me, with a 8-ounce glass of water with your meal. 3rd day, chicken rice soup. Okay. Made by adding the water to the casserole, and now we call it soup. We're really original here. But here's the outcome. Eating the soup compared to the other foods significantly increased the feeling of being full, reduced the participants' hunger, significantly reduced the number of calories the woman had consumed during lunch. It was all the same food, folks. And even when you have your glass of water that you drink with your meal, it's not the same as having it incorporated in the meal. No, you're not just playing tricks on your mind. You need a few things for your stomach to be happy. I have never asked someone not to be full. I've asked them to eat foods that don't over-calorie them before they get full. Now you know why I'm a big advocate, because I can give you more food, I can give you more nutrients on a vegetable, plant-based protein diet than any other diet known on this earth. Literature review, similar studies, short-term studies, low-density foods promoted feeling full, reduced hunger, and gave them less calories. Long-term studies, low energy-dense foods promoted moderate weight loss. Studies lasting longer than 6 months, weight loss was 3 times greater for people who ate the low energy-dense foods than for those who simply ate low-fat foods. We talked about artificial sweeteners already and how we've been duped. The next big thing we've been duped on is low-fat foods. If all these people eating all these low-fat foods are getting bigger, it should tell you that once again, we've been duped. We've believed another marketing lie. It's like low nicotine cigarettes. Well, what if a person smokes 1 or 2 extra? Come on, folks. See, if we can make you believe that my product is healthy, if I can make you believe something, the battle's over. You're right. I'm trying to make you believe something this afternoon. I'm trying to make you believe you can be healthier. I'm trying to make you believe that a plant-based diet is healthy for the human race. I think I've got the evidence. Fruits and vegetables, lower doom. Fat increases the energy density of foods. Well, of course, it's the highest calorie per gram food. Fats is 9 calories for every gram of fat. Pure sugar is only 4. So fat is over twice, 2.5 times the amount. Number 2, water and fiber in foods increase volume and reduce energy density. In their natural state, fruits and vegetables have high water and fiber content and low in fat and energy density. Well, even the USDA said that. That's pretty good. Studies with fruit and fruit juices show whole fruit is more satiety. I feel fuller. I enjoy it. So I give you a glass of orange juice, fresh squeezed Florida orange juice. Well, enjoy it if you go to Florida. Just don't enjoy it too much. I squeezed 4 oranges for your glass of orange juice. The next morning you come to the table, I've peeled 4 oranges and I put it on your plate. And you go, you expect me to eat that? I said, yeah. You go, I can't do that. I go, well, you did that yesterday morning. And by the time you get done eating your 4 oranges, how many waffles are you going to eat? Pretty simple, isn't it? Whole fruit contains fiber, and juice is fiber-free. There is something about fiber, and you hear it once in a while. Fiber decreases breast cancer. Fiber decreases colon cancer. Fiber, fiber, fiber. What's with this fiber? If you dilute the food and you change the fuel and you change the fuel mixture, fiber is supposed to be in food. If God created it that way, why don't we listen and stop messing it up? Vegetables, fiber, water, and feeling full. A series of studies by Gustafson and colleagues, researchers found that adding vegetables, carrots and spinach, to meals, but keeping the same number of calories enhanced the feeling of being full of at least 200 grams of if 200 grams of veg were added. Ratings of fullness were correlated positively with the fiber content, water content, and total weight of the meal. Has nothing to do with the calories. Water, fiber, and weight. So how much do I have to weight your meal? Put lead in it? No, I mean you got if you eat enough volume. And cooked food and raw food, the combination is incredible. Some people go on raw diets because they want to have a cleansing effect on their body. That's fine. But if you take broccoli and you eat it raw, which you should enjoy it, or if I steam it, or if I put it in a stir fry, broccoli has certain nutrients that you won't get if you cook it. But raw broccoli won't be broken down to fiber to allow you to digest things that when I steam it. There's advantages on both sides of the fence. That's why I'm not a 100% raw food advocate that you got to do it this way or no way. No, there are advantages on both sides of the fence. Fiber and weight management. Reviewing over 22 studies, of those 22 studies, 20 studies found that a high fiber diet resulted in weight loss. Even in studies that did not restrict food intake, you eat as much as you want. Participants on high fiber diets significantly lost more weight than those on low fiber, without even restricting. That's what we always. That's what scares people. I can't eat this. I can't eat that. I'm going to dry up and blow away. They didn't even restrict anything. They as much as they wanted. An increase of 14 grams of fiber a day was associated with an average weight loss of more than 4 pounds within nearly 4 months, the base pool from 12 studies. You go, well, that's not that much. Folks, how fast did you gain your weight? 10 pounds a year? After 15 years, sounds like 150 pounds to me. If you want to lose your weight, remember an important thing. The way you lose your weight is the way you keep it off. If you hate broccoli, but you eat it because you want to lose weight, and you can't wait till you're done, then you might as well go to Weight Watchers. Because you get to your goal, you've reached your goal weight. I've made it to 136. And then what happens? Health is a never-ending goal. I've never met someone that says, I'm too healthy. When you eat correctly, you're not eating just to lose weight. You have to have a bigger goal. If your goal is only a number on a scale, when you reach that number, what happens to you psychologically? I've reached my goal. Let's go party. Let's celebrate. Let's go on a cruise. Go on as a passenger, come off as cargo. Folks, you can't do that. You have to set different goals. You will set yourself up for loss. You will set yourself up for failure if your number on the scale is your only goal. Once you get your weight down, I don't want you to have to worry about whether you have 5 extra calories a day or not. By the way, I don't worry about calories at all. You can go, well, you're lucky. No, I can be overweight. I could be grossly obese if I allowed it. I just happen to think there's more things in life that I want to do. Review. Many studies have found that significant weight loss can occur when advice to increase the intake of fruits and vegetables is coupled with advice to reduce energy intake. We're back to the same thing. This isn't brilliant anymore. This is expected. So, you can enjoy your soup, your good vegetable soup, with half the calories as you put in there right now. So I wasn't kidding about the neighbors are coming over, put another quarter to a water in. Only the neighbors aren't coming over, you're the neighbor. So basically, warm, good-tasting soup is one of the easiest ways to lose weight. And I've watched diabetics change their life completely because they didn't like their salads, but they're willing to eat vegetable soup and just watch their blood sugar just start coming down. And I'm not talking about a little bit. I have people that walk in my office over 500 blood sugar. I also know they're not going to go to the hospital. And they inform me very rapidly they're not going to take insulin. I'm going, okay. I had one man that walked in that said what I needed to hear. He says, listen, I'm willing to eat cardboard if I have to. I go, you got it. What that told me is he was serious. I saw him at over 500 blood sugar. I saw him back in 2 weeks. His blood sugar had dropped to about 150 area. No, we weren't there, but he wasn't taking major risk with his life at that point in time. Let me see how much time. I've got to move ahead. This is Mr. Fit. Let me get through intervention. Let me go to one more. Intervention number 3, families with obese parents and non-obese child. Parents focused on behavior intervention. 2 groups, both were comprehensive behavioral programs. One group increased fruits and vegetable consumption. The second group decreased their intake of high-fat and high-sugar foods. Materials for the children were targeted the same dietary changes as their parents, but with no caloric restriction. After 1 year, the parents on the increased fruit and vegetable group experienced greater decreases in weight than parents on decreased fat and sugar group. Parents with children in the increased fruit and vegetable group also decreased consumption of high fat and high sugar foods. We're trying to get past the concept of low fat, low sugar foods does it. It doesn't do it. You have to eat, now I'm going to sound like your mother, eat your vegetables. Number 4, participants consumed a daily diet that includes specific amounts of fruits and vegetables. Fiber provided 15 to 20% of their energy. After 1 year, energy-adjusted intake of vegetables and fruit fiber, but not fruit, was associated with a decrease in the body mass index. A decrease in percent energy from fat was not associated. It isn't about going on a low-fat diet. It's about changing what you eat. Intervention number 5. Participants who increased their intake of fruits and vegetables and decreased their fat intake lost a significant amount of weight in the year. Over and over and over again. American Journal of Clinical Nutrition. I'm going to skip some of these and get right to here. Then we'll open up for questions. Number 1, feeling full cues people to stop eating. You've had it happen to you. You've been out, you've eaten, you're pleased with the meal, and if I said, would you like some more vegetable soup? And you go, no, I'm fine, that was really good, thank you very much. Are you full? Yes, I'm full, I'm satisfied, that's good. And then somebody comes out with a dessert platter. And it's incredible. I've actually watched people's stomachs empty in a matter of seconds. You know where the battle is, don't you, folks? We can give a lot of good education, but somewhere up here has to change. And then it gets really easy. Most of you have spent your life fighting yourself and arguing with yourself. Hey, maybe it's been a good argument. But it's got to get to where you go, okay, no more excuses, no more arguments. They've never helped me before. I'm going to do this. People feel full based on volume of food consumed, not necessarily calories. We've talked about that. Number 3, eating low energy dense foods can help people feel full with fewer calories. You've never heard a person with bulimia that said, after I ate 45 apples, I couldn't eat anymore. You've never heard a person binge on carrots. Why do they choose chocolate cake or a pasta? I'll tell you why. Because the food value that's in natural foods destroys that part of the effectiveness of what kind of stimulation they're trying to get for their brain. I have never had, mostly young women, I've never had a woman come to my office and said, I binge on apples. Hasn't happened. Don't expect it either. Eating low energy dense foods helps people to feel full with fewer calories. It's simple. Replacing foods of high energy density, high calories per weight of food, per mouthful, with low energy density, fruits and vegetables, can be an important part of a weight management strategy. I hope so. Do you have that handout? It's just a summary. I don't think we've missed anything on here. When you eat is going to determine on how much weight you carry around. Now let's be fair. If you only ate 800 calories once a day, you could probably eat it at midnight and lose weight. But within reason, that's a valid statement, when you eat. Number 2, food with high nutrient content, not high calories, high nutrition, high nutrient content. Hydration is absolutely critical. Most people are not hungry, they're dehydrated. This is the old trick of the trade. Most weight loss programs tell you to do what? Drink your water. Or if you have a craving or if your appetite picks up, drink a glass of water and wait 15 minutes. What happens to your brain? Somehow, where the hunger went. Type of exercise, we spent time on that. Sleep. Sleeping recharges your energy batteries so you're not tempted to try to make up for it with food. Stress control, steroids put weight on. That's a whole nother seminar, stress control that is. Avoid sugar, I think we've put that one to death, and avoid caffeine. You can't stimulate yourself into being healthy. You will know that you've got all the stimulation you need when you wake up in the morning and you jump out of bed and you go, what am I going to get done today? That's the kind of stimulation I want. If I get it from caffeine, then I know I'm doing something wrong. And if you have to have caffeine in your program, that is the best critique you can give yourself that I'm doing something wrong. If I've got to have it, then I must be needing this artificial stimulation from somewhere. Well, I preached enough, haven't I? Any questions? Yes.
May I ask you about, okay, you said stevia. Oh, sorry. Let's see, you said stevia is really, it's an artificial. What about coconut sugar?
Okay, here's the key. It's all about refining. Whether I get it from a sugar cane, whether I get a coconut, whether I make my apple pie with apple juice concentrate, all these are ways of concentrating this fruit sugar. Some of us can't handle it. The more you concentrate any type of sugar, you cause an insulin spike, and you're going to have a problem taking care of your weight. It doesn't matter what we're talking about here when it comes to refined, and I consider honey a highly refined food. It just has more minerals and more nutrients. Maple syrup is a highly refined food, about 30 gallons to 1. I love this stuff. It's absolutely great, but I have to admit it is a refined food. We do it, not the bee or wherever.
I'm just trying to find out what sweetener I can use.
Okay, are you diabetic?
No.
Okay, then you've got a big advantage. Do you need to lose weight?
Yes.
Okay, then on your weight loss mode, it's going to be critical for you to drop the refined sugars until you've reached your goal, muscle, fat ratio, everything the way you want it, and then you can go back and you can actually tolerate it. That's why God gave us a pancreas. I am not here to tell you that all sweetening is bad and give it a dirty mark. I'm here to tell you that if you're trying to lose weight, this is a weight loss seminar we're doing here. If you're trying to lose weight, sugar is one of the big inhibitors. That's what I'm saying. By the way, I eat sugar. I'm at the weight I want to be at. At the same time, if I want a dead head, then eat a whole lot of sugar, and I tell you it will affect me up here. Yes, sir.
About oranges and orange juice. You said there's more fiber in the orange. Can you eat too many fruits like oranges and apples?
Can you eat too many?
Too many for sugar?
If you're not diabetic and you're eating the whole food, I'm not worried at all about you. But I will tell you this. If you're not diabetic and you're trying to lose weight, you will lose weight more quickly on vegetables than you will on fruit. So it's where you're at. Vegetables do one other thing for you. Cabbage stays in your stomach for 4 hours. If you want satiety and feeling of full, you can eat a high fruit meal, men, ladies. How many hours do you feel like I need to eat something again? 2? So fruit is very important because it's easy to digest, goes through your system. That'd be good to eat in the evening so you don't go to bed with the stomach full. On the other hand, the communists have taught us something really important. It's called borscht. It's a soup that we have in Russia. It's beets and cabbage. We can work a man harder and longer for less food value and get more work out of him, make him more productive than any other food. I'm not communist. I'm not recommending we have to eat like them. I'm just telling you, learn, because cabbage and beets have more fuel to keep a man healthy and work longer than any other fuel.
Anybody else? Any other questions?
Up front. Wait till she comes. Someone might want to hear your question.
You've said a lot about eating vegetables, and fruit. Do you recommend eating them together at the same meal or separate?
Two things. Number one, the chemistry of the vegetable and the chemistry of the fruit have totally different digestion times. Depending on the sensitivity of your stomach, it can be good to have your dominant vegetables here and your dominant fruit over here. Definitely, some of you have studied into food combinations and you know your system better, and some people actually can't even tolerate it. But when it comes to digestion, try to find things that digest about the same time. For example, let's go back to cabbage. If I ate cabbage and ate an orange, what would happen in my stomach? Cabbage stays in my stomach for up to 4 hours. What is going to happen to that orange in my stomach after 4 hours? You're right, it's going to be like my compost pile. There are people who have bad breath. There are people who actually produce more alcohol in their stomach and would never drink a drop because it ferments. Now, the body is made to handle alcohol. Otherwise, we drink alcohol, we get drunk once in our life, and our brain would be gone for the rest of our years. So the body has the ability to break down alcohol because God knew that fermentation of food in the bowel and the intestine of humans would produce some alcohol. Therefore, I'm not recommending you drink alcohol. I'm telling you that you have a backup system so that it won't mess up your brain. But the goal is to have digestion times about the same for the food you eat. That's another principle of proper digestion. If you eat fruit in the evening because you don't want your stomach full going to bed, that's the best time to do it. So what you should eat for, I'm going to get laughed at this one, what should you eat for breakfast then? Hey, eat like a farmer. You got your green beans, your mashed potatoes. You eat a breakfast so you got something to work on. A honey bun and a cup of coffee, that's not a farmer's meal, folks. They can't work on that kind of food. And you go to the office and you try to act like you're working. Oatmeal? Excellent choice. Good grain. By the way, when we say plant-based protein, we're talking about whole foods in general, whether it's your oats, whether it's your barley, whether it's your grain. And by the way, there are less people that are gluten intolerant than think they're gluten intolerant. It's the craze lately. You can live very well without gluten, so I don't have a beef with anybody who wants to be off gluten. But gluten is not a bad protein just because you or me can't tolerate it. What's made America have a gluten problem is we are so wheat based. Everything we do is wheat, okay? Well, if you would have a variety of grains from your rice to your barley, your quinoa, your amaranth, you can see we have overdone it. And then we've actually done one more thing. We have farmed our ground to the point where we have overused our nutrients that we normally would expect in wheat. So that's why I see this whole thing. But gluten is a protein that if your bowel can digest it and do well on, enjoy it. I just recommend you have a lot more variety of your grains.
Any more questions?
Now I know why when the pastor uses this, he only speaks for 45 minutes because my ear is sore enough that I'm ready to get rid of this thing. But after 3 hours, I guess there's going to be a red spot back here. Awesome. Thank you for your advice. And
Okay. I want to thank everybody as well for coming, and be sure as you're leaving to pick up one of the papers on the table that kind of gives an idea of what will be coming in the future. We're going to have this man back repeatedly, and you won't want to miss those. Before we leave, let's bow our heads for prayer, okay? Heavenly Father, we just want to thank you for the wonderful way you have provided that we might live the abundant life, both physically and spiritually. And we pray, Lord, today that as we leave this place, that you will help us make proper applications, and that we will truly experience new life as we move forward is our prayer. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you so much for coming.